Well, today sure has been an exciting and interesting day. Sergio, the anniversary toon, just dropped, and he looks interesting to me. His 5-star version has a 45 AP rush, which is very fast. He deals 150% damage to one enemy, but has a 20% chance to deal 600% damage instead. He also gives himself and a teammate 50% defense for 2 turns, and has the specialist skill, Manic, which before only Charlie had. So Manic is a very unique specialist skill, and I'm intrigued to know how it plays out on Sergio in actual practice. So when he becomes a 6-star, 76 AP, which is normal, he can deal 200% damage to one enemy, but has a 20% chance to deal 1000% damage instead. That's a huge amount of damage output, but very inconsistent. And then he gets 50% defense for 2 turns with one teammate, so he retains that ability. I'm actually surprised that it stayed at 50%. But wow, that damage output, and him being a blue toon as well. He could be a pretty decent counter to all the red toons that have been coming out, but some of the red toons that are out, you would still need to have some type of control, because like if you get him, for instance, to rush Ryan, if he only does 200% damage to one enemy, well, he might trigger bide, but if he does 1000% damage to Ryan, then Ryan is probably dead. And then his active skill is kind of unique too. It goes off of this whole 20% rule again. So one teammate can either gain 15% bonus HP, but there's a 50% chance of them gaining 50% bonus HP. And then Scopely is still doing this plus 35% AP to self, which they've done with a lot of recent characters. But going back to Manic, so when his HP goes below 75%, then he gains 50% AP. So it's almost like you want him to be slightly weakened, because the more times he rushes, the higher number of times he will output 1000% damage off his attack. And to be honest, I would probably not up his attack too much, because if I run him against some of these red toons, or against bide toons for instance, because bide doesn't trigger if you kill the toon, then I don't want him to output a lot of damage on his rush unless he's going to kill them. And that's only going to happen if he outputs 1000% damage. Sergio is definitely a toon that I want to get my hands on, and I'm going to have to play around with him to see how I want to mod him and what would work best, because obviously I don't want him to be taunted or stunned. And also weapon-wise, I think I want to give him a lot of HP, and maybe an impair weapon, or a weapon that does plus 35% attack when enemy's HP is over 60%, because that would work really well against bide characters again, if I want to try to one-shot them off of a single rush. Thanks for listening on my first impression of Sergio.